Welcome back to this module. So in this module, we are going to build the live character count application. So this will be the final version of the application that we are going to build in this entire module. So when I just simply enter a cursor here and try to type something like this is the text, you can see now the total characters you typed including space is actually 16. So if I just simply reduce some here text by deleting then you can see right now we have this word that has 4 character. Now if I enter here some spaces, this particular application is also going to calculate the spaces and display this particular value here. Right now after the end of this character, I have added 2 spaces, so that is why it's actually displaying here the 6 as a result, and that is why I have named this particular element as total characters you typed include space. So just like we typed normal text like this is our first word, so if I enter here some spaces, this particular will have also going to add the spaces as a character. So that is what we are going to build in this entire module, a small application, but you will learn how to actually create this particular layout and also follow this particular theme, then how to actually increase this particular text area, also to avoid the resizing of the text area. And then later on in the JavaScript part, we will use functional approach to actually calculate the length of the character whenever we update any value inside this particular text area. So our first step is to start with the HTML part of the project, which will be the next part of this particular application, which is live character counter application, or you can say that the live character count application. Now for the HTML part, I have already created the project files inside the Visual Studio Code, which is our index.html, style.css and script.js file. So now what we are going to do here, first we need to actually create the container. Inside of that we are going to place all the rest of the elements. Alright, so this is what we are going to do first. And also I have launched the application inside my web browser. You can see live character count, and also I have opened the final version of the application that we want to develop. So I am actually going to copy this live character count heading because we want it inside the index.html once we create the container, and inside of the container we need to place the h2 element. So here I will be using the shortcut of the emit, which is container, and just like I typed here container, you can see we get the div tag with the class name container, and after that we need to place the h2 element inside of that, and I'm going to paste the live character count text which I have copied because it is actually present inside my clipboard of this system. Now you can see as soon as I press the Ctrl S to save the data, then it's going to update, means display the live character count h2 heading inside the web browser screen. Alright, so the next step is we need to place the text area, because in the final version of the application we have this particular text area. So we need here a text area, and you can see once I press the tab key, you can see these are the properties inside this particular text area. So I'm going to actually break all of these properties into separate lines so that we can actually understand each of them clearly, and I am actually going to indent it properly so that we doesn't make any typos, so that it looks a little bit in a structured way. And I'm going to also place the closing tag at here. So the first thing is we need to define the name, so it is actually going to be the text area. Then we need to define the ID that will be used inside the JavaScript. Then the columns and rows, I just going to leave it as the default. So once I press the Ctrl save, then you can see now we get our text area in which we can add the data. Next thing is we need to add the placeholder text. So the placeholder text is, this is our first word, or if I just simply refresh it, this will be the placeholder text. Write your text here. So this will be the placeholder text that I'm going to add inside this particular text area. So here after the completion of this particular one, so I'm going to press the enter key to make some spaces. Also I'm going to open the other version of the application, which is the live character count application, or you can say that the live character counter application. So inside of that I'm going to place the placeholder, means I'm going to specify the placeholder attribute in which I'm going to display my message write your text here, and I'm going to press this sign of exclamation 2 times. Once I press the control save, right now you can see nothing is actually visible. But if I hear something, like if I select, you can see now we get the write your text here, because if I enter here some data, then that particular placeholder text will become invisible. If I empty the entire text area, then you can see we actually able to see the write your text area placeholder text. Alright. Next, we're going to use here on key up event. So this basically used whenever the user interacts with the keyboard and leave the keyboard, means whenever user type anything on the keyboard and leaves the keys, like if I press any of the button and as soon as I leave it, then this particular event will be triggered. So instead of that, we're going to use the count characters, or I can say that the counting character. So this will be the function that we are going to use whenever we interact with the keyboard. And after that, we need a paragraph element that will be look like this. So I'm just going to copy the text of the paragraph element and coming back to the other version of the application, and also inside of the index.html, I'm going to place the paragraph element. So paragraph element, and inside of that, I'm going to place the text, that is total characters you typed including space. Alright, and inside of the paragraph element, we need to define the span element that will be used to actually display the results of the typed characters inside the text area, which will display a numeric value. So here I'm going to specify the span tag, and inside of the span tag, we need to display a 0. As soon as I press the Ctrl S key, then you can see everything will be actually displayed inside this particular text area. That is because the things are actually placed inside the body, means inside the tag body of the text area. So I'm going to cut this code from here and make sure we are outside of the text area closing tag. So here inside the division of the container, I'm going to paste the code. And if I press the Ctrl save, now we can see we get our paragraph line and also our span element. Also, I want to add the class to this particular span element so that we can add a different style to it, and also we can add and use it inside the JavaScript. Now if I press the Ctrl C, nothing will be changed because it is actually a class attribute that we're going to use inside the CSS for applying the CSS code, and also we will be using it inside the JavaScript so that we can apply some logic to it. So now we have completed the HTML part of the project, which is the live character count. So in the next, we are going to start with the CSS of this particular live character count application. So now we are going to start with the CSS part of the project, which is live character count application. So for that, we need to use the style.css file, but before using it, we need to link this particular file inside our index.html. So for the linking of the file, we need to use the link tag, and here we need to specify the path of the file where our file is actually stored, which is the style.css file. Now this file is actually present in the same directory where is actually index.html is saved. So I'm going to simply here type the name of the file. As soon as I press the S key, you can see Visual Studio Code automatically give me the suggestion of the file, which is the style.css or script.js file. So we need to actually specify the style.css. So I'm going to simply press the enter key to this particular file name. Once I Ctrl save it, now this particular file is actually linked with our index.html. Also, I want to link the script.js file. So here after the end of the division tag, which is actually having a class container, so here I will be typing the script src, and here I need to specify the name of the script.js. So this will be the file in which I'm going to write my JavaScript code. So now I have linked the CSS file by using this particular link tag, so I can use it inside the project, which is the live character count. So for that, using the CSS code, I need to open the style.css file. Inside of this particular file, first I'm going to start the universal selector, and here I will be first resizing the margin to 0 and also padding to 0. And after doing these two properties, it will actually going to reset the margin and padding. And after that, I need to set the box sizing to border box. Alright. Then I'm going to select the body element. Inside of the body, first I'm going to apply the display to flex. And then I will be using the align items, which is going to be the center. And then justified content, it is also going to be the center. Now you can see the content is actually moved to the center of the browser. Then I'm going to specify the min height to 100 VH so that the things will be presented in the center of the browser screen. And after that, I'm going to apply the background color, because here I'm not going to use any linear gradient. I will be using the background color, which is 2C3EF0. That is actually this particular dark color. And after that, I'm going to apply the font family. So font family, I will be using here sans serif. So this will be the font family that I'm going to use. Now you can see the font family of the entire project is actually changed. Next, I'm going to select the container, because inside of the container we have everything actually placed, means all the other elements are actually placed inside the container. So it is actually a class selector, so we need to use dot and then the name of the selector, which is the container. Then here first I'm going to specify the width. So width is going to be 400 pixel, and after that I'm going to apply the padding. So padding is going to be like 40 pixel. And once I apply the padding, after that I will be using the background color so that we can actually create a differentiate between these two things. So here I will be specifying the color name, which is this particular one. Now you can see once I press the Ctrl save, you can see now the container gets this particular color. After that I need to apply the display property. So display is going to be flex, and then I will be using the flex direction. So flex direction is going to be column, and after that I need to use the box shadow. So box shadow is going to be like 0, then we need to apply the 5 pixel, then the blurriness is going to be like 15 pixel, then we need to use the RGBA value. It is going to be like 0, 0, and alpha is going to like 0.1. You can see now it gets this nice box shadow. And after that we need to apply the border radius property. So border radius is going to like 10 pixel, and then we need to add the color. So color here, which will be actually used to change the font color, so it is going to like EC F0 F1. Control save it. Now you can see the font is changed for this entire project. Alright, now the next thing is we need to actually apply the style code for this h2 element. So for that we need to use the container, and then we need to here apply the h2 element, then the starting and closing body of these particular elements. Then the font size is going to be like 2 rem, and then we need to have the margin bottom, which is going to be like 20 pixel, and then we need to add the color property. So color is going to like EC0 F1. So this will be the color code. Now if I control save it, you can see it's actually the style of the h2 element is changed. Again here we need to use the container, and then we need to use here a text area, because the text area is actually present under the class container. Means the if I actually open the index.html, you can see the text area is actually a child of this particular container division. So that is the reason I have used here container, then under that there is a text area. So that is the reason here I am using the multiple selectors. So first we need to actually change the position. So position is going to be relative. Then we need to add the margin bottom property. So margin bottom is going to like 20 pixel. And after that we want to use the resize. So this particular is actually used to actually, because if I don't use the resize, if I just simply remove it, you can see now we can actually change the size of the text area, which actually disturbs the UI of the project. So that is the reason here I will be using resize to none. If I control save it, if I refresh the entire page, you can see now it's actually going to stay in that particular size of the text area. Alright, and after that we need to add the height. So height is going to be like 200 pixel, and then we need to add the width. So width is going to be like 100%. If I control save it, you can see now the height and width of the text area is actually changed. And after that we need to add the padding. So padding is going to like 10 pixel, and then I'm going to add here border, or I can add the background color. So background color, the color that I want to use is like 2C. So this will be the color code I will be using for the background, which is a darker version that we have applied to the entire body. And after that I'm going to here specify the border. So border we are going to use for 1 pixel border, which is of solid border. And then we need to add the color. So it is like 344, and then we need to add here 9FE. You can see now the border is also applied to the text area. And then here we need to add the border radius. So border radius is going to be like 5 pixel from all sides. And then I need to here use the outline. So outline I'm going to remove it to none. Right? So that there should be no outline to the text area. And then I will be here using the font size. Or float is actually a font size. Inside of that I will be using one RAM unit. And then I will be using here a font family, which is going to be like sans serif. Control save it. You can see now the font for this entire text area will be changed. Last, we need to add the color property so that we can see the text in the white. You can see now the text is actually displaying white. Okay. Next, we need to add the code for the placeholder, because right now this placeholder is actually looks ugly because it is going to be like a yellowish color, although it is like a white or maybe a yellow. So I'm going to select, means copy this particular line of the code, pasting it, closing the block of the code, and here we need to use this pseudo element, means the placeholder. So placeholder shown, I just want to use the placeholder, not placeholder shown, and just remove the one. And after that we need to add the color. So color, add this one, and then we need to add the S symbol, BD, and C3, C7. You can see now the color of this particular placeholder text is also changed. Alright, and then here I want to add the container, which is going to be P element, and then we need to start the block of the code. So here first we need to add the display. So display is going to be like flex, and after that we need to add the align items, which is going to be the center. And then here we want to add the font size. So font size is going to be like 1.25 RAM units. And then we need to add the color. So color is going to be like ECF0F1. So this will be the color applied to the particular paragraph element. Now you can see these two elements are automatically aligned almost. Now we need to add the code for this particular span element. So for this particular span element we have applied a class, that is a counter class. So what we are going to do here, first we need to here use the container, and then we are going to select the paragraph element. Under the paragraph element we have the counter class, which is the counter selector. So there is a class selector, so I can actually name it as the counter selector as well. So the first thing is we need to change the font size. So font size is going to be 2 RAM unit. Then we need to add the font weight so that it will be little bolder. So it's going to like 800. Now you can see the size is actually changed. It seems too big, so I'm going to use this 700. 700 seems fine for this particular one. Then we need to add the margin from left. It's going to like 10 pixel, and after that we need to add the color. So we want to use a different color instead of white. So I will be using here like hash symbol 3498D8. So this will be the color we are going to use for the updation of the counter value. So now the entire CSS part for this particular live character counter application is done. In the next part, we are going to start with the JavaScript part of the project. So now we are going to start with the JavaScript part for this particular project. So for that, we need to use the script.js file. Inside of that, first we need to create the function. So in the index.html, whenever we press the key of the keyboard, this particular function will be triggered. Means when we press the key and when we release the key, then this particular function will be called. So we need to actually create this function inside the script.js file. So here I will be using the function keyword, then I'm going to paste in the name of the function, and then I'm going to start its block of the code. But before that, we need to get the reference to this particular text area and also this particular element. So for that, here we need to create two variables. So it is like const text area. So this will be going to equal to document dot get, or I can say that the query selector. So it is actually a single selector, so that is the reason I will be using here query selector. Then we need to specify the type of the selector. So it is actually a text area, which is actually a tag name of the HTML. Then I'm going to here use the const again. Here we need to use the counter because this is actually the name of the class counter. So I'm going to name the variable name also counter. Then we need to use the document dot query selector. This is the query selector. Then we need to start with its body. After that, here we need to specify the type of the selector. So we need to also specify the dot because it is a class selector. So we need to define the type of the selector under this query selector function. Then we need to type the name of the class, which is the counter. Now we get the reference to this particular text area and also this particular element, right? Instead of this particular function, first we need to calculate the length of the text area. Text means whatever we are going to type it here, we need to actually calculate the length of it. So for that, here I will be creating the variable const text length. Inside of that, we need to get the value of the text area dot length. So this will be the property we are going to use it. Now if I use the console dot log, and if we print the value of this particular text length, that is this one. Now if I press the Ctrl S, and now if I increase the window of this particular browser and then press the F12 key, and here if I enter some text, now you can see it's going to display the length of the character. So here if I enter my name VJ, then it's going to give me 5 as a value, and if I press the spaces, then it's going to increase the character count. So now we need to actually bind this value, or I can say that display the value of this text length to actually this particular element. So for that, we need to actually use the counter because we have the reference to this element class inside the counter variable, which is available globally. So we need to update its inner text, not HTML, because it is a element, span element. So we are going to use here inner text. So I'll be using here template string, which is the key present at the top of your tab key, and here I will be using the dollar symbol, then the pair of curly bracket, and inside of that I'm going to add the variable name, which is text length. Now if I press the Ctrl save, and now if I enter here some text like my name Vijay, then you can see it's actually displaying 13, and why it's actually still displaying 2 here. So if I refresh the entire page, you can see now it's actually at here. So if I enter here like VJ, and now it's actually giving these kinds of 13 values. Why? Because there is a lot of blank spaces existed between the character. Now if I remove it and if I enter it, now you can see it's going to display the perfect character count. Now if I enter here Kumar 2137 or whatever, now you can see it's giving perfectly fine. If I enter here like 2 means flow, now you can see it's giving the 6 as a result. So the application is working perfectly fine. So that is for this particular module, which is the live character count application, or you can say that the live character counter application. That totally depends upon your need. So if you like this module, then leave your review, because your review definitely going to motivate me to actually create more awesome courses and content like this. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next module. Thank you very much.